In this video, we're going to compare the new Anxiety Overdrive on the Headrush gig board to the Compulsive drive on the HXFX. Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. I am Dr. McFarland. If you're new here, be sure to subscribe down below and click the bell icon so you'll be notified every time I release new content. And what you see before me is the Headrush gig board and the HXFX. And I'm simply going to compare the Compulsive drive to the Anxiety drive. And what I've noticed in the last few days of just kind of messing around with these two different pedals is the sound and gain structure is very different. So I'm not really sure the process that Headrush or Line 6 went through to model these two pedals, but they do sound different. And so let's just go ahead and listen to some tones. So here's my clean tone. I'm using the 59 Deluxe gain mod on the Headrush as our amp. And I'm also using the Jason Roller Bogner impulse response, because why not? All right, so here's my clean tone. And here's the Compulsive drive. All right, now the gain is down pretty much all the way. So let me turn that up a little bit more. Here's with it on 1. And as always, we want to make sure that the bypass signal and the on signal is about the same volume. So here it is with a clean tone again. All right, that's pretty good. Now let's compare that to the Anxiety drive. And here's the settings. Here I have the level at 40. And let's turn this drive down. Pretty similar. Let's put it at 10%. So that should be about 1 on the HXFX. So here's the Anxiety Overdrive. All right, so right off the bat, we can tell that there's a lot more gain on tap with the Compulsive drive versus the Anxiety drive. And because I'm only on 1 on the gain on the Compulsive drive, and it's still pretty beefy. All right, and here it is on the Anxiety drive. So let's turn up the drive on the Anxiety to try and match the gain level here. We gotta crank this up big time. All right, so around the 80% range on the Anxiety Overdrive is just getting started on the Compulsive drive gain setting on 1. So that's probably going to be a huge indicator on where this is going to go in this video, because it's going to be hard to really match the gain structure of the Compulsive drive, especially when we've already barely maxed out the Anxiety drive parameter there. So all right, they sound fairly similar. I'm gonna turn the tone down now. Let's compare the tones. So the tone on the Compulsive drive is at 5, okay, which could be about 50% on the Headrush. I'm just kind of going based on numbers here. So all right, so I think we found a fairly similar starting point. But like I said, as soon as I crank up the drive on the Anxiety all the way, we're not even near close to what the gain capacity is on the Compulsive drive. So here it is on the Anxiety. And also, once you crank the drive on the Anxiety Overdrive, it kind of farts out a little bit. The gain just kind of gets unruly and it's not very smooth, which I'm not too fond of. It's very dark sounding, and the compulsive drive stays nice and bright along the path of the gain. So let's go ahead and start turning up the gain a little bit more. Here's 2 on the gain. And here's the drive all the way up on the anxiety. Yeah, I'm not liking that at all. So even with a tone all the way up, we can't get the amount of high end that I want to hear out of the anxiety overdrive. So let's compare the compulsive drive again. All right, let's turn up the tone, because the tone on the LCD supposedly is a low pass filter. So with the tone rolled fully clockwise, that should be reducing no high end. All that treble frequency should be able to pass right through, no problem. So here's the tone all the way up on the compulsive drive. And that's fairly bright. Here's the anxiety. And once again, it's just way too dark. Let's turn the level up. Yeah, and that's not really helping much at all. So when I first heard the anxiety overdrive after the new update, I was not disappointed, but it just kind of left me. It was like, well, it's a sound. It's not that amazing to me, but it's just the way it is. Now, if I treat it just like a normal, overdrive with just a little bit of hair, I mean, it works well in that context. And then the compulsive drive, let's turn the tone back down. Let's kind of darken it up a little bit. Let's put the tone on 3 and see what that does. Alright, so this tone knob has a lot more range as far as color. You can get it really super dark or you can get it super bright. Let's put it back on 5. And anxiety. So I think the anxiety drive has a little bit more bark to it, where the compulsive drive still sounds scooped, no matter what you do. Now there are 2 different versions. We have version 2 and version 4. Let's kick it over to version 2 and see what that does. All right, so even keeping all the other parameters the same, just switching the version, you get even more high end out of the pedal. So and the anxiety drive is still just kind of barky and mid-rangey. So if mid-rangey is a word. Let's compare this to the Diana drive that is also included on the 2.8 update from line 6. It's just a lot more raw sounding. Now let's switch it over to the Black Op. This can definitely give you a lot more high end if that's what you're needing. But once again, the Diana drive and the compulsive is going to have a lot more gain. So here's the Diana drive by itself. And Black Op. Alright, now let me turn up the distortion a little bit, because you can get a lot of gain out of this pedal. Let's go to 50%. And let's brighten it up just a little bit by reducing the cutoff. Cool. Here's the Diana drive. think the Rat is just a little more brash sounding. Let's compare the Heir Apparent to the Black Op. Brighten up the Heir Apparent, bring up the Present. Cool. Let's check out the DC Distort versus the Heir Apparent or the Dana Drive. So, all right, let's go bring down the level. Dana's a little bit brighter on that setting, so let's bring up the treble. A little bit more volume on the DC. Something going on with the mid-range on that one. Some upper mid kind of stuff. Let's compare the DC to the Compulsive. I definitely prefer version 4 versus version 2 on the Compulsive drive. I think those two sound pretty similar. And what I'm finding here is, even though I think the Anxiety Overdrive is lacking compared to the Compulsive drive, the Black Op and the DC Distort definitely take up the reins where the Anxiety Overdrive leaves off. So if it were me, I would just embrace that, kind of difference. And probably just bring down the drive. And we'll probably, I already have a gain setting here, so we can do like an OCD low, have like a low drive kind of sound. Just kind of get like a edge of breakup sound, and then use the Rat or the DC Distort as my higher gain options. So some people might look at that and be like, oh, well, the HX effects clearly wins out because it has a lot more variation within the effects. And that is true. I mean, there's just a lot more effects going on here. With a lot more sweepable controls and a broader range of tones. But really, once you get down to comparing and getting really nitpicky about, you know, this sound versus that sound. Well, a high gain overdrive or distortion sound is going to sound pretty similar to something else, you know, once you get into that realm. Low gain stuff, you know, there's a lot of different options there. Let's go ahead and compare the green JRC on the Headrush. Alright, so on this one I have the drive all the way down, tone at 50%, and the level around 64. Doesn't matter. And then here's the Scream 808 on the HX. So I think for me they both kind of have that honky mid-range, not a lot of bass response characteristic, and they both get the job done great. So if I can, you know, turn on the black op on the Headrush and then kick in the Tube Screamer, it's going to do a similar thing. If I turn on the Diana drive, then I kick in the Scream 808. Once again, it's going to do a very similar thing. There's a little bit more upper mids, I think, on the Diana drive. So that's why you need to kick in the Tube Screamer. It kind of pushes that even more, over accentuates that. So let's do the DC Distort. And then JRC. Either way, that's a great sound. Here's the Heir Apparent with the Scream 808. Just kind of rolls off that low end and allows the mid-range to really cut through there. So I think that's about it, guys. You know, you can make a valid point that the Compulsive drive has a lot more range of tone than the Anxiety Overdrive, but you know, it is what it is. Maybe they'll tweak the Anxiety Overdrive in the future and come out with a different update to make it more just a broader range of tones. But you know, there's plenty of tones there between the Black Op, DC Distort, Anxiety Overdrive, and JRC. And I think that's about it. There is a white boost, which is basically your RC booster. And that's a cool pedal as well. It's great for pushing the front end of your amp, or just getting a low gain or medium or high gain kind of sound. So I think that's about it for this video. Thanks guys for watching. I really appreciate all the comments, likes, thumbs up, shares, everything that you guys do. I'm here to educate, inspire, and help you achieve the greatest tone imaginable. So I am Dr. McFarland. I will see you in the next video. Keep rocking.